And we are on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our day 8 of Unemployed with a PhD podcast. Today, I'm gonna start by we're gonna talk about unemployment. The crew is here, the the cohort is here, but I'm gonna spend some time talking about it from an academic perspective. Okay, so why is there such a big, I mean, it's not maybe too big, but maybe it is big, we'll see, unemployment issue right now? It's because the federal bank's interest rates are really high. So as a rule of thumb, actually it's always like that. Whenever the interest rates are low, you always have more employment, more jobs, and vice versa. As you increase the interest rates, less jobs. Why is that? Because when the bank lowers interest rates, it becomes much easier for companies to borrow money. So they will invest a lot more of their money on the actual things they are doing instead of just putting them in the bank and letting it compound with time, right? Because they are less incentivized to put it in the bank since the interest rates are lower. So in 2020, when COVID hit and obviously all the businesses had to shut down, the the basically the Fed made an emergency meeting and they're like, okay, we're gonna lower the interest rates all the way to basically 0.25%, so that companies are more incentivized to borrow money, and then it will try to compensate for all the jobs that were being lost, so that they are able to hire more people since they can borrow more money much easily. And this is what happened in 2020 and like mid 2021, where you saw this craziness in the tech industry where software engineers were asking for a lot of money and they were getting all these benefits and all these stuff, especially with the tech industry, because they rely a lot on cheap debt and on borrowed money, because tech companies, if, for those who don't know, they don't make money early on. Like Uber only started making money as a profit like a couple of years ago. That's how much they borrow, right? So, but you might ask, okay, so why not keep the interest rates low all the time? It's because it will lead to inflation, right? So, as inflation got out of control during the pandemic, reached up to 10%, okay, the Fed were like, okay, we need to stop inflation. So, we need to raise the interest rates again. So, there's always this dynamic of how much employment you want and how much inflation you want. So, they raised it all the way to 5.5. So, during all this time, everyone was getting laid over. Yeah, still getting laid over until now, because the interest rates, they were dropped a little bit back to 4.5, but that's still a very high number. Okay, so 4.5 is a really high interest rate, and ever since Trump got elected, he was saying we need to lower the interest rates. We need to lower the interest rates. We need to lower the interest rates. And this is kind of a Republican thing. They like lower interest rates because it helps the businesses. So Trump has been pushing for that, but the federal bank was saying our target is to keep inflation at 2%. They were able to lower it from 9, somewhere around here, up until like when Trump was elected, it was like 2.6, 2.7. And then Trump decided to do the federal cuts in order to lower the inflation, because there was a lot of reckless spending in the government. A lot of stupid spending, a lot of weird spending on stuff that are really useless. I mentioned the example last week where they were like funding a bunch of politicians abroad, and these politicians, like obviously for political reasons, but these politicians would use the money to just buy lands and build like houses for their own, and just like a lot of corruption, a lot of weird spending. So Trump decided to cut that, and this obviously is lowering the inflation. Our inflation percentage right now is 2.3. So and he keeps pushing. So he had a tweet yesterday. He had a statement yesterday. Powell needs to lower the interest rates. So Powell is the head of the Fed. And yeah, we are waiting for the next Fed rate cuts, which the speculations say they're probably going to be in September. So this is the popular website where you can check probabilities on the interest rates. So the next meeting is in a couple weeks, and it says there's a 98% chance that the interest rates will stay the same. And yeah, so definitely we are keeping an eye on the interest rate cuts. And obviously, as cuts gotta happen, and we go below 4.5, hopefully we reach at some point 2%. That's like the sweet spot, not too low, not too small. Then people will get more jobs, more people will get hired, and yeah. So, okay, this is what I had so far, and you all can turn your cameras on right now. And I'll do that as well. I'm just. Okay, whoever wants to talk, you can go while I fix my camera thing.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Like when I was watching the last time Paul went live to talk about the whether they're gonna do the interest cuts, I didn't think he was gonna go through with it, and obviously he didn't go through with it. I don't know how much that would actually help the US economy because like in retrospect, if interest rates go down and people are able to afford houses, God forbid, then real estate is not going to be as valuable as it is or as it was. I don't know how much that would actually help the US economy. I don't think people in government really care if people have jobs or not. I think they're just thinking about the money that's going to go into the reserve or into their own pockets. But yeah, I think it's just a ruse to keep people on their toes. If they're going to do the interest cuts, I don't think they're going to go through with it.
Yeah, it's a part of the cult. It's a part of the culture war.
Mhm.
Actually, it's unfortunately it has left the economic table and has moved into the culture war table. There is there are about a million different factors as to why America's unemployment rate is so high. There are approximately 57% of the United States are living paycheck to paycheck. It's upward of about 60, but 57% is a safe estimation. The national debt is currently 36.94. The last time I checked last night, trillion dollars. 36.94 trillion dollars. There is a breakdown in the economic flow of things. The you know what I'm saying, people spend money, the companies that they spend money then pay workers, and it's kind of this cycle. It's very simplistic. I gave you like a 2 point scale, which in any economy class will immediately not give you 2 points, obviously. So I'm very obviously dumbing this down. But like when people aren't being paid enough, they also can't spend enough.
I'm looking up the exact numbers for something. So, recently well, not recently, I've been applying to local government jobs, and recently I met with someone, and we were discussing like, hey, why are there so many positions being posted and nobody's getting hired? And she was like agreeing with me. She said she works for the city of Seattle. And she was agreeing with me. She's like, yeah, I'm also very confused. Why are there so many jobs out there? We're not really hiring anyone. We don't have the budget for it. And you would think that local government gets their funding from the locals, so like local taxes, local whatever, local fundraisers, whatever the city, whatever the county is doing.
You would think.
And she was like, there's been so many budget cuts, even the teams have downsized. So what she's doing in her role, it used to be a 12-person job, and now it's a 4-person job. So like 4 people are doing the work of 12 people across the entire scope of the city. So I was thinking about it after. I'm like, why would federal funding have that high of an impact on local government? And so with the stats, just to get that right, City of Seattle used to get like up until last year, $207 million, up to $300 million in federal funding. And in 2025, they got $30 million. So that's a significant cut. And it would make sense that there is less employment going around in local government because of the federal budget cuts. Like
N-
that's
n-
just one of the reasons I
yeah.
believe.
So yeah, Trump's main focus has always been inflating the stock market and the crypto market and all the weird speculative stuff. It's capitalism, right? So he really needed to make these cuts so that the inflation would go down to 2%, so that the Fed later would have to cut the interest rates. So it's like a cycle, like we if you because the stock market was doing well, quote unquote, but it was doing it for the wrong reasons, which is that the U.S. dollar was losing its value because of all the weird
You're saying pre
spend
or post Trump it was doing well?
pre-Trump. It was at all-time high.
Pre-Trump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was still at all-time highs, right? So, but it was like that because of bad reasons, because there was just like reckless spending and
Yeah,
reckless
the it
reckless
was one of those
funding.
times where the economy, where the stock market didn't actually match the economy. It's like the stock market was doing very well. We
Hmm.
saw literal, like he was saying, literal all-time highs on like huge coins, like Bitcoin, for instance, like just all-time highs, and it's was shocking to see it. But at the same time, like a lot of people don't have jobs. How's this happening?
Yeah,
You know
and,
what I'm
and it
saying?
was because of the devaluing the currency, because they keep printing money, they keep doing weird stuff with the budgets, and so Trump is like, okay, let me cut the budget so that we go below 2% inflation, and then we lower the interest rates, so that once we lower the interest rates, people will start getting their jobs back, and the stock market will do well for good reasons, for healthy reasons, not for bad reasons. So I guess we have to be patient for the next. It's gonna be hard 3 4 months, and hopefully things get better after that. But yeah.
I
It's
don't know.
it's
Like if people
it's
are
looking.
unemployed and they're like selling their shares and selling all their stocks in order to get the money because they don't have money, I don't see how the stock market is gonna be doing well. Like within the short, I mean, now the stock market is stable-ish kind of thing, but I don't
It's,
know.
it's because the stock market isn't for everyday Americans. It's
Hmm.
it's not the job center for the vast majority of the population of the country.
Right.
Even if the stock market booms and the crypto guys get stinky rich, fingers crossed. I mean, regular every single everyday Americans are not getting meals on their table.
Yeah, right.
And it like I mean, to touch on the government support, it's actually interesting. I know that there are a lot of economic positions that prefer not to have a lot of federal government involvement. But that's typically for financial reasons. Like the bottom dollar is the motivation, because ultimately the Fed's going to tax your money, and you're trying to keep as much of it as possible. But I mean, that's again how that economy is supposed to work. Like if you're making a bunch of money, you should be putting that back into the economy. And then again, those at the top, the Fed, the government, should be distributing that money back the way it's supposed to be distributed, and they don't. And they don't. Government spending is by far the most egregious spending compared to like this like civilian sector spending. Please, who honestly cares that a CEO wanted to get himself a car? Who I like honest to God, like dollars to donuts. What's the percentages that really matter? 150,000 company vehicle on the company. Hey, that sucks, man. Just, you know what I'm saying, privilege of being a CEO. We're talking about like paying your workers health insurance, like making sure your workers have benefits. Like we're talking about like unemployment, dude. People are working multiple jobs because one job isn't enough. You can't go to the dentist on just one job.
Right,
You can't put
unfortunately,
your
yeah.
kids in daycare on just one job. Like there's no growth. There is no safety net for the majority of Americans. 57%, like lowballing 57%. Like the majority of Americans don't have a safety net. If you miss a paycheck, you don't eat. You
Oh
don't
yeah,
get to live in your
totally.
house anymore.
I really don't know how, like, when my parents talk to me about like buying a house or whatever, I don't know how they expect our generation to even afford any kind of real estate. I mean, if I can afford the down payment on a house, I would have bought a house by now.
Yeah.
I could barely afford down payment on my car, and that's like significantly cheaper than buying a house. I really don't know like how my generation, like our generation, is. going to be able to have a house. I know like most Americans are now preferring to rent even in the later stages of their life. They're
Mm.
preferring to rent more than own. But I don't know like what would be the repercussions of that, like having assets is important, or having assets used to be important at least. Now our assets are stocks, are coins, there are my car, but it's not the house, which is what used to be the most valuable asset you could own. But also now I would be seeing the houses around even just the area that I live in, like not even a townhouse, like a one floor townhouse, two bed, two bath, like 1.2 million, 1.5 million. I'm like, who can
It's
afford that?
it's because they changed the currency. It used to be that houses were the currency, but the reality is that it's land. Land is the
Yeah.
actual currency. Land
Yeah,
is where the
yeah.
value is. You buy a car, and as soon as you roll it off the lot, the value is depreciated
Oh,
immediately.
100%.
But like you buy a house, yeah, the value of the house also depreciates immediately, but not the value of the land, not the
True.
property itself. Just maybe the house. Yeah, it might need more work and updating. If someone wants to buy the house off you, they have to put it into consideration. Oh, I have to do work on this house, so I need to pay. I need to, you know, what I'm saying I need to pay something that's not going to break the bank.
Hmm.
But like,
Like
oh, that's
even
not.
now,
You
if
own
you
a
think
quarter
about,
acre of land.
yeah. I mean, even now, if you think about like owning a house just to rent it out as an Airbnb or rent it out as just student housing or just regular renting out, it would take you at least 10 years to like cover part
Mm-hmm.
of the mortgage that you put on
Mm-hmm.
that house. And that's beside whatever wear and tear goes on in the house, whatever plumbing needs to be done, whatever renovation needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's
Not
expensive.
you can't do it on a Starbucks salary.
No,
You
not or
can't and you can't
nonprofit.
and you can't
Mm-hmm.
do it on a bachelor's degree salary.
Mm. See,
And
that's
you
the other
can't do it
thing.
on a
Like,
master's degree salary.
right, that's the thing. Like the value of degrees is also depreciating with time.
Yeah.
When it's not even that long ago, like when my parents were in school, having a high school degree was amazing. When I was growing up, having a bachelor's degree was it. It's like you need to have a bachelor's degree in order to get a decent job, get decent pay. As I was graduating from college and getting into the job market, it completely depreciated. It's like now you need to have a master's in order to just be considered for some sort of position. That's the case now. And I'm like, so I'm in a field where I my degrees and my certifications and my experience are what speak for me. I can't just be skilled at what I do in the education field. I can't just be a skilled teacher and just go
Mm-hmm.
be given a class or given whatever instruction workshop, whatever to teach, to prep, to design. You need the degrees. It's maybe in tech it's kind of easier. Like if you're skilled at coding, if you're skilled enough and you have that talent in you or have practiced your entire life, you could
You,
probably land a job. I know a lot of Googlers here
even
in
even then, you got to
Amazon
be
don't have
like, you
degrees.
kind of got to be the man. You kind of have to be like the guy for you to be like, oh, I'm guaranteed to get a job. Don't worry about it. Even like as a
Mhm.
programmer, I know a lot of programmers who are really, really talented
Yeah.
problem solvers, and they're not working,
Yeah.
or they have two jobs, and they're working from home. You know what I'm saying? Two jobs from home, crushing it because they have no choice.
Are
It's
you
the
a
only way.
programmer, Mac?
I
I don't know
have
what your
I know how to.
background
I've
is.
done some C sharp, but I'm not like a programmer. Like,
Okay. What is your
yeah, yeah,
background?
game design specifically, but
Cool.
I'm a writer and a producer. So
Cool, cool, cool.
yeah.
So we discussed the whole idea of needing two jobs. I wanna tackle this in a more, let's say I'm being the devil's advocate. Okay, we are in the USA. We are in the land of opportunities.
Was.
Was really.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
The
That
American dream is completely changed. The American dream is
American
over.
dream
The
is an
American dream has
American
been
nightmare
over.
now.
Yeah,
Like,
the
no
American dream
way.
has been over. The American
I,
potential is not realistic.
I mean, I feel anybody can get a job. I think we're just not getting the jobs we want. Do you agree with that
Yeah,
statement, or
that's
because
that. Well, that's half of it. I think that's half of the 57% problem. Maybe is that like we have
look, I
skill
understand
sets.
if you have a
Use
family,
them.
that's an issue. But if you're like a single person, or like if you don't have kids, I'm not saying why you should be struggling too much. I'm not saying you're gonna be the ultimate rich person, but if you're on a, obviously not minimum wage, but if you're like a person who's like decently educated, and you just go to work, do what's required from you, you are able to do something with your money. Okay, I feel
Yeah,
that's still the case. It's just that we want jobs that
pay
specific
well.
jobs, specific not
I mean,
necessarily
isn't
like
that
a
what the opportunities are? I
Yeah,
mean, are
that's the
you like sectioning opportunities as what is my field, or opportunities as in I could work in my field, or I could be an Uber driver, or I could work as a
yeah.
barista? Like, if you're talking opportunities in that broad sense, sure. But I want to work in my field. I
Yeah,
worked my ass off to
but
get to where I
yeah,
am. I
but
want to work in
obviously,
my
if you
field.
want to reach that point of like where you're doing what you like, you
Mm.
obviously are expected to struggle a little bit at the beginning. You just have to be smart about it,
Yeah, but
right?
at this point,
But
I
we're
that's
struggling a
that's the thing
lot.
though.
We're not even struggling a little bit. We're struggling a lot.
And also, you don't have to, you shouldn't have to struggle at all. We're in the richest country on the planet. There is objectively, absolute fact, there is enough money in America to go around. Absolute fact. Billions and billions and billions of dollars at the disposal of the United States government. There is absolutely enough to go around. It is not a matter of resources. It is a matter of priorities. People eating and having a roof over their heads is not the priority of the dollar. It can't be. The dollar's priority is to make more of the dollar. If you follow the capitalist mind, this structure that we have, this radical side of it, where it's like, oh yeah, well people don't need to eat, we need to get paid more. Then we're looking at the situation we're in right now, where people aren't working and aren't eating.
Yeah,
But
well,
people are,
no,
but
no.
rich people are richer.
Maybe that's a reach because, like, I mean, I'm always comparing it with third world countries. That's why, because
Oh yeah, yeah.
in third world countries, even if you're a bachelor living by yourself, sometimes you can't afford rent. Doesn't matter how educated you are, like, unless you're a doctor or you're part of the government in those countries, then you're basically a poor. Like, doesn't matter how educated you are, you can't pay rent. You obviously can't do other stuff. But what I was saying is that at least here in the USA, you have enough infrastructure as a single person or as a person with no kids, and as a person, assuming you have no debt either. So these are things that you kind of have control over: no debt
I
and
So
no
I will
so
kids.
say,
I grew up in a town called Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay, well, I didn't grow up there. I graduated from there from high school. Now this is a town that is awesome to visit. If you're ever blowing through Tennessee and you want to stop by a town for like a day, grab some food or something, look at some scenery, stop by Chattanooga. Do not raise your family in Chattanooga. That is a black hole of a place. You cannot leave that place. Once you settle your roots in, there's no social mobility. You don't make enough money in the South to be able to travel outside of the South. That's why the cost of living is so low. Like they make little amounts of money. But I know people who I went to high school with who graduated high school with me, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm actually working at this store still. I'm going to stay here for a few more years." And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to go there and join the Marine Corps. I'm going to get out of here." Fast forward 5 years, they're still working at the food for, you know what I'm saying, Food Line or Food for Less or whatever. No shade on those jobs. At least people are working, but like, I'm like, "Hey, how's college?" Oh, they didn't go to college because they're working. Like they have to keep working because now they have rent and now they can't stop working. And it's like, oh, so now what can you do at this position? You're working a job. It's not inside of your special interest.
These are
You're getting paid.
choices. They're not.
No, it's not a choice. You have to eat. You have to survive. You have to have a
Nah.
roof over your head. You have to have food and water.
I mean,
So you have to work. You have to work.
you can't. But yeah, but you were able to not do that. You didn't
When
fall
we were
into
in
that
high
trap.
school, when we were in high school, we're living with our parents, yeah. But once you graduate and you move out and you're
Yeah, so
independent, you have to
they
work.
made a choice. You made the correct choice. Hey, I want to leave. They made a choice.
I had the privilege to make the choice. I was physically in shape enough and crazy enough to join the Marine Corps and leave and go do war.
So this
But
brings
they are
us back
stuck.
to okay. That's a good point. Let me make a quick argument against that because from what I've noticed, you could disagree with me. If you're in the States and you let's say you're in a okay family structure. Okay, so it's not like you were born with a single parent or like all the. Don't talk to me about the exceptions. Let's say you were born, both parents are taking care of you. You're going to a school. Okay, it's very possible. I'm not gonna say easy, even though I can argue it's easy. It's very possible for you to get a full ride at a university somewhere in the USA as long as you do the work.
Whoa, full ride.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you're gonna
that's
go
college. College
I'm not
is
saying you're gonna go to
easier to
Harvard.
find. Sure. College is easier. Like we have a lot of
like
students who
public.
work at our organization. Like they're on full scholarships as long
So
as they keep doing the work, as long as they keep their GPAs up,
exactly.
they have
So
full scholarship.
your classmates,
But
Mac.
college life is not outside life.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the thing.
But if what I'm saying, I'm responding to Mac. If his classmates decided to pursue that path, they weren't stuck right now just working in the food industry trying to survive. That's what I'm saying. So there's always some element of choice. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that I'm gonna put the full blame on them, but I'm saying that people should look at what they have done and say, okay, what could I have done differently?
I think
Right.
there is, like right now in this phase of where the United States is at, there is the element of choice, yes. I am choosing to change my job because I need to support my family better. I made the choice that I want to support my family back home, also going back to kind of the curse of being Lebanese is that we're always supporting our families back home as well. So like there's that aspect added to like if my salary was just about supporting myself and my current family, I think it would be enough for me to like, support and maybe have a bit of savings here and there. But I also support my family back home. And I made the choice that I want to change jobs so I can get paid better. And I made that choice last year. And even though I made that choice, this country is eating me up altogether, and I'm just going deeper into debt, and I'm just, you know, struggling in order to get a better paying job, even though I have the degrees, I have the experience, I have the connections, I have the diversity quota, I have it all that can all fit in whatever criteria they want. And even with that choice, I'm stuck where I am, and I don't want to get rid of my job because this is my only source of income right now. And, from what I've seen, it's a blessing to have a job in general
Yeah,
over
don't
here.
quit.
So I think like the idea of the American, I came into the US. I didn't have the idea of the American dream. Like, okay, I knew there was a lot of opportunities here, and I like how it used to be that whatever efforts you put into the society here, whatever, like you get what you put into it. You get to places based on your merit. Not anymore. And that is something I'm noticing, and that is something very discouraging, honestly, at this
I
point.
uh, I actually have bad news. The reality is that never existed. Is the biggest myth that exists outside of the United States is that you come to the United States, you put in a lot of hard work, and you're going to be super powerful and successful and rich. Not true at all. A fundamental falsity. If you think of how many immigrants come here and are below the poverty level,
Yeah.
legal immigrants below the poverty level. Yeah, obviously, because it's hard to make a living when you have no marketable skills. Also, counterpoint to an earlier thing, 0.1% of college students receive full ride scholarships. 0.1.
I'm not
That's
saying
just
full
Zero,
ride.
Fulbright.
0.1
That's
receive
That's
just
Fulbright.
scholarships.
That's
Fulbright.
Fulbright.
There's so many other scholarships.
Wait. 1.5% of bachelor's degree students get majority of their college paid for. Not even all of it, just majority of their college paid for. So I think that while you did interact with people who got full ride scholarships, you need to understand, especially at USC, people are paying $60,000 check, bang, and calling it because they're rich. They're in Southern California. They're affluent
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
But what I
A
was
lot
saying
of
is
people
that any
can't afford college. We have to take loans out to go to college.
yeah, but I was
Those
saying
loans,
that if when these
inescapable.
students were in high school, the ones who are not rich, if they were when they were in high school decided to put in the work, and
No.
most of them
Also,
did.
also
But you know what
untrue.
they ended up doing? They ended
That's a
up
fallacy.
deciding. No, hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
So a lot of what I'm trying to say is that if you, as a high school student, do what's required from you to do, as any student, assuming there's no weird situations you're a part of, like assuming you have both parents, all is normal. Any one of them can get a full ride at a certain university. And many of them end up getting it, but you know what they end up choosing to do? They want to go to the Ivy League. They want to go to USC. They want to go to the private school. So they end up taking a loan to go to this prestigious school just to tell people that I went there, instead of taking the full ride somewhere else. And now they're suddenly stuck in debt for their whole lives. because of this one choice they made.
So in the United States, as of 2023, approximately 71% of children under 18 in the U.S. Live in two-parent households.
Okay.
So that's only 70% of the U.S. have two-parent households. Those children. The rest of us don't have that. So like
I think
not
that
a
number is
good.
going down.
It's definitely going down. The divorce rate in the United States is 50% plus. It is a little above 50. I don't know
The
the exact
sign
number,
of
but it's definitely
doomsday,
50.
guys. Be careful.
But also, there's this idea that if you do well in high school, that you'll succeed.
I didn't say
But like,
succeed. I'm
oh, I'm sorry,
saying,
sorry.
yeah,
That you
go ahead.
will, that you could then
But by
lock
the
in
way,
for
if
college.
I raise my voice, don't be offended. It's just
I'm
how
not.
I
I'm not. I'm
talk.
not. I'm not. I'm
That's
not.
how I talk. Now that knows about me. Okay, go ahead.
The I think that there are so many circumstances that occur in teenagers' lives. Like, I think the expectation of a 4.0 out of a 16, 17 year old is not only unrealistic, but also like it's not a high percentage of kids that get that score. It's such a small percentage. Remember we're talking about 0.1%, 1.5%. I'm talking about full ride scholars. We're talking about people who are already in college. You don't need a 4.0 to get scholarships. That's very true. But you do need a good GPA to get into a school. Unless you're going to a community college. I graduated high school with a 2.4. I have no shame about it. I did not care in high school. I knew I was going to the Marine Corps. Graduate 2.4. Go to community college. Get your 3.9. Then you go to USC. So you know what I'm saying? You can work it on. That's true. I think community colleges are perfectly valid. I'm not one of those people who thinks community colleges should be thought less upon. That is a degree. Get yourself a
In
degree.
general, like you create your own path with what you want in your career. It's not your degree
You,
that creates it. Like
yeah,
college
yeah,
can
yeah.
help you with the connections and everything, but it's definitely your hard work that gets you where you want to be.
So that's the point I'm always trying to make, is that a lot of people try to blame it on whatever, the government, or, but if you just look deep into it, a lot of the times it's just choices were made, and these were bad choices. Now I understand there wasn't enough raising awareness, there wasn't enough maybe involvement from the parents, but you have to see where you belong in the picture and what you did wrong as well, if that makes sense.
But
I
how do you get
want
people
to.
to be aware of that if they grew up in a, you know,
Well, first of all, you
bad
have to be
household?
you need to be aware of the real fight, and it is the illusion of choice.
The Matrix.
Right now, we're talking about choosing jobs and choosing to do this, that, and the other. What do you think happens if you get pregnant? What if you and your girl get pregnant? Now what?
Get an abortion.
You got to make some changes. You got to. Or you don't have to do anything. It's your choice. No, you have the illusion of choice. You think you have the freedom, especially in the United States. We love talking
Actions have
about it.
consequences.
Yes. And so going to school and doing really good and then going to college and having $90,000 in debt stacked on top of you is like, oh, wait, now I have to really get a job. But you have this degree. Well, you really need to pay those student loans off. So you need to get a job. Now you're working at Trader Joe's with your master's degree. But you made choices. Those are your choices. But you can't leave Trader Joe's either now. You can't. Your degree is not taking you anywhere. You have to work 40 hours a week. There's illusion of choice. You don't actually get to do these things.
So here's the thing. Maybe the actual word I was supposed to say. Maybe it's not choice, but what I definitely mean is
Opportunity.
that actions have consequences. What
Yes.
action you end up taking? At some point, you made a choice, which eventually took the choice away from you because the original choice you made was not an educated choice.
Somewhat true, mostly true, but also people at the top, PTA board members, faculty members, senators and congresspeople, they make choices that affect your decisions.
Agree.
And those choices they make are so outside of your control, but they still affect you. If America's
But
education,
this is life. Life is throwing stuff at you.
yeah,
You need to
but
decide how. You need to make a
but we
choice on
can't,
how you're gonna deal
but
with
we
that.
can acknowledge the faults that have led us to where we are. Actually have consequences. We have to look at the actions and the consequences. We can't just say, "Oh, we got to deal with the consequences." We have to be like, "No, these consequences are wrong. This sucks. We don't want this to happen again. We should do something to prevent these consequences again." I'm talking about unemployment. No, people aren't working, and they're still not working. Actually, unemployment is going up currently. There are objectively more jobs being created than there have been. There is also 57% of the United States population living on paycheck to paycheck.
I think as well,
So
there's a
it's
lot of
like
internal hires going on in every single sector.
I honestly
They don't want to spend
I'm
the resources training someone new.
that's it. I make a job. I have a person who's working the job. Raga, man, you're my position, dude. Don't leave this position. Actually, wait. This person just got fired. Instead of hiring a new person, you're gonna go work over there. You're picking up their title. Call it a promotion, and we're gonna pay you more. Guess what? You're actually gonna do two jobs now. You're doing your job and their job, and we're paying you more. Are you gonna quit? Are you gonna negotiate more money in 2025? No, I'll take the responsibility and the money. Money, please. I'll take the work. I don't care. But like getting those positions like this, that's internal hire. We're talking about like getting into a job. How are you going to get into a project manager role if you're working at Panda Express? How are you going to get working in Rocket Labs or Tesla or whatever the other one down the street is? How are you going to get into these Rocket Labs, these astronomical instrument processing plants? Like, how are you going to get into these jobs? You better go back to college. You have to go now get a certification. Now
That's
you
the
need to go
thing. That's
back
how
to
it goes back
college.
into the loop. How am I going to get hired without experience, but I can't get experience without getting hired? Like it's a full loop that you could just get to go
I
through.
think of our parents and they're like, oh yeah, man, because like parents, dude, you can graduate high school. From think of how parents lived, from their points of view, you graduate high school, and then you can immediately make enough money to support a family. Bang, out the jump. You graduate high school, go to work at the mechanic shop down the street.
In their
For them,
perspective, they gave us a life that's even better than what they had. We
exactly
got college degrees.
in their mind, because when they were living in the excess of it, saying in the 90s and the 80s, like saying, or even the early 2000s, living in excess, like saying, I don't know about peak American culture, but like it's around there. It's somewhere in that general area is where you're gonna start to see like I call it the social morale. The morale of the country just starts to plummet. I think we are really close to an all-time low right now. Obviously, there were some events like I don't know World War I or two or the Great Depression. Those tend to hold high candidacy for like the lowest social morale points. But it's getting close.
Getting bad. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point it's just a mix of so many different factors. It's no longer if you have the degrees only. It's no longer the choices you make. It's no longer whatever the budget is. It's just, I don't know, the word's going to shit maybe in some way. I don't know. I'm very pessimistic right now about the whole job market situation. So to me, I'm just seeing it as a lot of nonsense that gets posted online because of liability. Like even people who are hiring, they say, "Oh yeah, there's jobs that we post because we have to by policy show it that it's posted before we hire the person we already know that we're gonna hire for this role." Or
There's a lot of, by the way, so that you all know, there's a lot of bots on LinkedIn. So
Yes.
every time a job is posted, there's always this one bot with a bunch of bots who just apply randomly. And there's this one time where Google had a software engineer intern job posted. And you want to take a guess of how many applicants there were?
1 point or 10 million, 10,000.
So Google software engineer intern. Think about it. Take one guess each.
I'll say around the ballpark of 10K, 15K.
107,000.
5.1 million.
Oh my God.
Beautiful. This is also, but that's such a poignant reminder of what we are. It's super dystopian. It's super dystopian. You are a valid candidate for your position. You are a smart, talented person. You can achieve just about anything you get your hands on. You are never, ever, ever going to get a look at a job because you have to compete against bots, dude. You have to compete against bots. They can apply to 50,000 jobs in 2 seconds. It's nothing. It's like three different data entry macros, bang, and it fills out the list for you. And it's just applying to positions, and it's like yeah, you can't.
So there's also like not just like with the bots applying, there's also the filtering process that happens. Like even with those 5 million bots applying, I'm sure all those 5 million bots applying had the exact terminology they needed to put in order to get through the filtering process. Now, When I'm applying, I just get the automatic rejections because I just get
Mm,
filtered out because they want the correct terminologies inside my resume. They want the correct terminology and whatever. And I have a friend who's gotten interviews. Like this guy is even more qualified than I am to do so many different jobs. He has like certifications, he has masters, he's worked internationally, he speaks Mandarin even though he's like Persian American. He's gotten interviews at Microsoft. He's gotten interviews at NASA. He's gotten interviews at colleges. He's gotten interview. The only reason he was able to get those interviews, I looked at his resume, and his resume like is not that great. Not because of the formatting and how they tell you it wants to be. He puts like the white blanked out words all
yeah,
over his resume,
I do
and he
that.
just get doesn't get filtered out, and he goes through the interview process. But that's the thing, you just want to get to the interview process to show that you are a good fit for the job. Now, he's not getting the jobs, not because he's not qualified, because whatever, there's, someone who got laid off of Microsoft who's more qualified because he has a Microsoft background and he needs this job, whatever. But there's also that aspect of applying, which is very annoying because you put in a lot of effort into what you want to put into it. And that's the thing that is what goes back to the choice. Like I made a choice of what I want to do. I made the choice of the jobs that I want to apply for. But at the same time, there's something that's against me in the system that is not letting me go through the next phase.
It's
I
the
think that's
system.
very unfair
It's
in
the
the
system
system of it
itself
all.
that's against you.
Hmm. The
Yeah.
system itself is against you, absolutely.
That's
Like,
that you're like something in the system is against me. No, it is the system.
It is.
That
This is.
that is the system. It is definitely against you. It's
hmm.
against
But if you think
an
I
about
actual
it,
gotta,
hard work.
I mean, let's say you have a startup, right, and you want to hire somebody. You post a job, you get 2,000 applicants. You're not gonna read
Yeah,
all of those applications.
sure.
I might.
You might.
No.
No,
2,000
Come
applications.
on.
there is no.
What kind of job do I have where I have 2,000 applications? What kind of
If
job
you
gets
have a
2,000
startup, you're
applications?
probably gonna go poking around, make connections, and hire someone that is referred to
I
you
mean,
even. You're
yeah,
not even gonna look.
but
Sometimes you're not even
I
I
gonna
guess
look.
I'm
think
just
I
putting
think we've
myself.
stumbled onto something. Hold on. Wait a
I'm
second.
putting
What kind of
myself in the
job is
shoes.
getting 2,000 applications to it?
What do you
What
mean?
kind of
I
position
just
is
told you
getting?
Google got 5 million. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
That's
okay.
Google.
So Google, yeah, they
Yeah,
should
but
use their AI software to parse through this
no,
2,000
no.
things. My little
I
baby
literally
company is
spoke
not getting.
with startups people, and he told me he gets like 1,000 so applicants. He's not gonna read all of them. So why? Because there's bots applying, right? So and there's a lot of
Got you.
applicants who, because remember, like I'm unemployed, but at least like I'm a little smart on what I apply to. Like I know if I'm not getting the job, I'm not gonna spend time filling up this stuff. But there are people who literally have nothing, but they just apply to every single thing they see on LinkedIn. Remember this joke I saw it online? He's like, I was applying to everything, and now I have an interview for a pastor position. Like that's how.
No, literally. How did I
so,
get this?
so if you're a startup guy and you're hiring for a job and you get thousands of applicants, okay, what are you gonna do? You have to find a way to filter that out, and
There was an HR
yeah,
person that was telling me like that was pretty good advice, but I will also say why that's not good advice. So she was like, I want to get your resume from the first 6 seconds of me reading your resume, top to bottom. I want to get what I want out of it. And if I think you're eligible to move forward with the process, I'm going to put your resume in the pile to move forward. And in the first 6 seconds, if I don't, I'm going to move on from your resume. That is good to know. That way you'll know what to put on top of your resume and whatever. Why it's not good is because there's all these teachings out there. There's all these courses out there.
Biases.
There's all these whatever, like teaching you, saying your resume has to be in a certain way. It has to be catered. It has to have these certain wordings. And then an HR person comes and tells you it really doesn't matter. We're just gonna look at the first part of it. But then as well, if you don't, you know, spruce up your resume, if you don't make it sparkle and shine as well, you're not doing a good job because what are you doing if you're not putting the effort into it? It really is a broken system in and of itself. It really is a broken system. And I hate it. It's
It
so bad.
is. I'm curious. As a designer, we look at things and we ask not just how, but why. Not just how doors open or where the latch is or where the knob is or which way they open or which way they slide, but why they do that. Why do you want a door in your house that slides? You might not. Why would you want a door in your house that rotates like a revolving door? You wouldn't. But you would want a door that has a handle. That'd be good. Okay, so why? You know what I'm saying? So when we look at systems, we have to ask ourselves not only how are these things functioning, but also Why are they like this?
Mm.
For the system to have operated the way it has for as long as it has, we can't assume that it is then broken since it is continuing to operate. We must assume that it is operating as intended. Stupid. The system is not broken. It sucks. It sucks, and it's not beneficial to regular everyday people, and it's not easy to get into. It's not easy to navigate. It is by design difficult to navigate and difficulty structured. It is an insane roadblock in the lives of millions of Americans. And I don't think there's an easy fix either. Like, there's no way to just turn around and be like, oh yeah, this is the problem. We just need to make people hire more people. That literally doesn't solve the problem. Actually, objectively, just if every employer in the country went around and hired 2 more people, just double their employee workforce, we collapse the economy. Because that's how sensitive these things are. It doesn't work that way. You can't just. You have to have money. You have to have money to go spend money. You have to have money to make money. Also, for some weird reason.
You know what, guys? Honestly, I think at this point, OnlyFans is the most profitable place
and
right now.
and it's not even anymore either.
What do you mean
I
it's
know
not
some
even anymore? Like
dude. I know so many
these
girls
chicks are making
who
like 20, 30 million a month doing the stuff that they do.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now, it's the same thing as being an exotic dancer. If you are an exotic dancer in Atlanta or Las Vegas, you're probably gonna make 6 figures a year in cash and in tips, and not have to claim it on your taxes. It's fantastic. If you're an exotic dancer in Omaha, Mississippi, you're dancing to yourself. You're not getting paid, and so that's kind of the same
Yeah,
thing.
that's it.
You guys know that OnlyFans, like the company OnlyFans, is worth a lot. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah,
how.
yeah, yeah. It's worth a ton, and there are people on there making millions and millions of dollars weekly. No, for sure, for sure. But there are also hundreds of
OnlyFans,
thousands of people who are
okay.
playing with themselves by themselves. They
In
are posting
2023, the
things.
platform generated over 6.6 billion in revenue and paid out over 200 million to creators each month. That's wild. Like,
Made
hey,
600 billion and paid
porn
out
is just a
200
such a lucrative
billion.
industry.
No, 6 billion, not 600.
I so I'm, I'm sorry, 6 billion,
Yeah.
but still it's okay. And paid out 200 million. Yeah, they're making a killing over there.
Yeah, man, but
That's a
no,
good
I
that's a
had to
good
grow
profit
up
margin.
in a family with honor and dignity. It's like, nope, you cannot show your titties online. It's like, okay, well, I'm not making money otherwise, so
It's
what
all
am I
right.
supposed to do?
It's all about the feet pics. That's the
It's all
real trick.
about the feet.
Hey, no face, no case. Feed finder. Throw your pigs on there. I'm telling you. Been paint my toes for years. No one suspects a thing. I have big hairy martial arts feet, bro. Like I've been doing martial arts since I was a little kid. My feet look
I
like
have,
train wrecks.
I have a weird feeling OnlyFans is gonna reach the Middle East one day, and it's gonna be a weird thing. They're gonna talk about
Is
it a lot.
OnlyFans not open in the Middle East?
Where would
I
it
mean,
be?
it's not a thing. Yeah, I mean,
It's not a thing,
it
but like,
because
can you
because
access
once it
Maybe in like
becomes
North
once it
Africa.
becomes a thing, the government has to do something about it, right?
it?
So I want to see. I'm waiting to see what will happen when it becomes a
I
thing.
remember when in Lebanon, I think the government put a stop on being able to open Pornhub, and that's it. So
You're
that's the only porn site out there. That was very
there.
funny.
There were Marines stationed out there when that happened, and they were like, "No, not the porn."
It's always whenever you go, there's always this one person who, oh, I served there.
Yeah,
Not me. I've never been to Lebanon. It'd be sick
guys, I'm sorry. I have to bow out.
for sure.
All right. Peace
Okay,
be upon you.
let's end it now. Actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you everyone for being with us on this stream, and see y'all soon. I'm gonna do one about DEI and maybe.